My name is Rachel Lawson and I am in the Dublin Service League. I've been a member since 2019, I believe, and I have with me today my mother.
Hey everybody, I'm Pam Green, and I am a True Blue member of the Dublin Service League. You guys know what that means. If you have also been a member, it means you've served for 10 years in this organization that raises scholarship money for local students. And that's kind of the reason that we even have the Dublin Fair and Marketplace.
That's right. We help. That event allows us to bring in the funds that we need in order to distribute scholarship. We give out thousands of dollars in scholarships to the local high school students here. It is a great, it has a great impact on this community, I feel. So today, just to kind of promote this event for you guys, we are going to be baking this year's feature cake for the Antique Fair and Marketplace. This is the first time we're having it in, I think, 3 years.
Very excited about that.
Yes. So we're excited to be back doing that. We're excited that the community is going to get to be involved with that again. And yeah.
All that entails. As we go through the baking process, we'll be sharing a few more details about this year's fair, what you can expect when you get there, some of the things we'll have, some of your favorites that you're looking forward to partaking in again.
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't we get started?
Sure.
Tell us what we're baking.
Yes, so this year's feature cake is called the Snickerdoodle cake. It has a lot of the warm cinnamon flavor that you love in a Snickerdoodle cookie. That might be what most of you have tried, where you've tried that flavor before, and it's all just wrapped in a yummy cake. So we will get started. We've already got our pans here. They've been pre-greased. We spared y'all all the spraying of a can.
Well, and when we say that, I mean, our personal favorites are to use like a Baker's Joy type product.
Yes.
It just always releases the cake really well, and you don't have to worry about it sticking. So that's what we've already done to those pans.
Yes, and actually I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven on 350 so we can get that warming up.
All right.
And we are good to go. So,
And we're off.
Yes, we did go ahead and pre-measure some flour because if you've ever baked, you know that can be very messy. So this is...
Thought we'd spare you all the flour bomb that happens.
This is 3 2/3 cups of flour, and we are going to measure out a couple more ingredients and add to this and whisk it all together. So I'll go ahead and get the salt. We're going to do a teaspoon of salt here. I know a teaspoon seems like a lot of salt if you've baked, but we're all unsalted butter in this recipe, so that is how you measure your salt out a little bit better.
2 of that. That is
2
the
baking powder.
Baking powder. You have to be careful. Make sure you grab the right thing, not the soda, but the powder.
All right, and then baking soda, we've got, I think, 3/4 of a teaspoon. Is that right?
Yes. That's correct.
So... 1 2 and 3. I like to count out loud because it is very easy to forget how many you've done.
Especially when there's like toddlers running through or the TV's on or somebody asks you a question, you're like, oh man, did I add that? Did I count that?
And then again, you're just gonna whisk it together. So we'll get all this mixed up. It just helps so that when you add it to your mixer in a little bit, you don't end up with clumps of salt or flour. It just all gets evenly distributed. So we will set this to the side and add it in a bit. Okay.
Right. Butter and sugar.
Yes, so I've had the butter sitting out. A little tip, most people let their butter get, in my opinion, a little too warm. In letting it be room temp, you really still want it to be slightly cool to the touch. You want to be able to squeeze it and put a finger impression in it. But not be mushy.
Room temp in the summer in the South is probably too warm.
Yes, yes. So thank goodness it's not 100 degrees today. And we both have already washed our hands. I recommend you do that before you ever bake or cook anything.
Like most cake recipes, you're always going to start creaming your butter and sugar.
Yes.
It's the first step usually.
Usually for several minutes, you'll cream your butter and sugar, get it nice and fluffy.
And a lot of times recipes don't tell you. So what's your recommendation?
I would say maybe pushing on maybe 3 minutes.
Okay.
With your butter and sugar mixing, that usually gets you, I think, the amount of fluff that you're looking for.
And if you're using real butter, which that's always what we use in cakes, it will start to turn a lighter color. It'll start to
Yes.
turn a little bit white when it's getting completely mixed.
Yes. So I'm actually going to mix the butter alone first and get it creamed up really well, and then add the sugar in. So we're going to run this. Go ahead and put this here. So we've got our butter all creamed up, and we've got in this bowl, let me see, whoa, that would be way too much sugar. 1 2/3 cup of sugar. And I'm gonna turn the mixer back on and then just slowly add the sugar in while it's mixing. Let this go for several minutes. Like I said before, several minutes to let it get fluffy and lighter in color.
Like around 3 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Our butter and sugar looks great, looks perfect. I'm going to actually scrape the bowl really well before we add the next ingredient, which is eggs. And Mom, why don't you share a little bit about maybe tips on adding eggs to your batter?
Okay. Most all recipes say add eggs 1 at a time. Some people think that doesn't really matter and let's just get the eggs in there. But it really does. There's a chemical breakdown that happens, and you're going to get a fluffier cake if you add your eggs 1 at a time. The other bonus, rather than putting everything in the same bowl, is no matter how careful you are, sometimes you get a piece of shell in the eggs, and if you do 1 at a time, then it's easy to get that one little piece out of the 1 egg. The other thing, which some people know, sometimes you can crack an egg and it will have some blood in it, and you don't want to contaminate all of your eggs with that 1 egg that you're going to want to toss. So there's a lot of reasons for cracking your eggs 1 at a time, and we're going to get started doing that.
Yes. So the recipe calls for 3 whole eggs, and then an additional 2 eggs, but just the egg white. So you'll have 2 yolks actually that you won't be using if you
want to make custard.
Yeah, some other recipe you want to save them for, that's great. If not,
add them to an omelet.
Yeah, that's true, cook them up. So I'm going to turn the mixer on low, and then we're just going to add these eggs 1 at a time. I like to turn it up just a little bit once the egg is in there. It really helps whip the fat of the egg into the mixture. Baking is really chemistry.
It is. A lot of people like to say, well, I don't like to measure. That works for cooking, doesn't work so well for baking.
No. All right, we're gonna add our second egg. And on some recipes, you can wait a full minute between eggs if you have lots of time to spare. If not, just make sure you are watching and you see it all get incorporated pretty well. And with this recipe, it will, if you're familiar with the look of a curdled or a scrambled egg, it will start to look like that for just a second while you're beating the egg in, but that is normal, and you just keep going, and it will all become homogeneous eventually. All right. Our third whole egg. Turn that back down a little. We don't need eggs flying everywhere.
Scrambled.
Yeah, so that's the scrambled look I'm talking about, that you can see that it almost separates in the batter a little bit, but you pick up the speed and it starts to incorporate a little bit better.
And you can see that some of the butter and sugar mixture has clung to the side of the bowl. It's going to be important that you stop the mixer at some point, scrape that down so that all your batter has equal parts of egg and sugar and butter.
Actually, I was going to say, after the 3 eggs, I like to scrape the bowl before I add the egg whites. And I think it blends it really well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Lots of...
Stop and start.
Yes. That's kind of the fun of baking. I don't recommend baking if you're in a hurry.
Also a good reason for keeping your recipe handy, because sometimes when you stop, you have to go take care of something. And then you come back and it's like, okay, where am I in the recipe? And you can pick back up without missing a step.
Yes.
Especially if there's little people in your household.
That's a great point. All right. Oh yeah, this is mixing well. Just want to make sure it can be very easy for butter to just get kind of stuck to the bottom of the well of the bowl down there, and you just want to make sure you get all that out.
And for you old timers, you might remember your grandmother saying, my cake had a sad streak in it. That's what that is. It's when you had a clump of butter that didn't get mixed up, and when the cake cooked, it made like a little greasy spot in your cake.
Well, surely when it bakes, it turns back into a liquid. It
Right.
gets hot, and then it doesn't look good in your cake.
So that's what the sad streak is.
Okay, so we're going to start the mixer again and just add the 2 egg whites this time. And I don't think we've mentioned this, but our eggs were also at room temperature. That's also an important thing. Some ingredients need to be and some don't, and whatever your recipe says, that is what you should do. So in this
Almost
case,
always, if you don't know, room temperature is better.
Yes.
Because if it needs to be cold, it will definitely say this needs to be cold or right out of the refrigerator. So if it doesn't say it all, you can probably assume room temperature is right.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to turn this up a little higher and let it mix for another minute or 2.
Why don't we take a break here? It's a good place. Go do something you need to do. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Kyle Gerard with A+ Flooring and Construction. We're in our showroom and I want to show you some of the new products that we have. We have a complete line of ceramic tile from Premier Tile. We also have the new Chesapeake LVP display, as well as a lot of our shawl carpet displays. We'd love for you to come down and shop with us here at A+ Flooring and Construction. A couple new things that we have a brand new complete line of cabinets. We also have our new metal roof distributor for metal roofs here in town, as well as shingle roofs. We can supply all your needs at A+ Flooring and Construction. So come see us at 371 Georgia Highway 338 or give us a call at 478-676-2662.
Progressive Rural Telephone Co-op offers a full range of communication products and services to its members in Lawrence County and surrounding areas. We take pride in being your total communications provider, and we work hard to provide quality services at the best prices. In addition to offering phone service, we provide high-speed internet and digital high-def TV. And we always strive to put our members first. Progressive Rural, your total communications company. Small enough to know you, large enough to serve you. ProgressiveTel.com. Call 478-984-4201 or stop by 890 Simpson Avenue in Renss. Progressive Rural Telephone Co-op.
All right. So I'm going to leave the mixer on, but I'm just going to have it on its lowest setting. We are ready to add those dry ingredients.
All right.
That we whisked together earlier. The low and slow is the way to go with this because you start adding all this powder in. If it's mixing too quickly, it literally is like you said, a mushroom cloud. It all just comes right back out.
Well, and it is okay to completely stop your mixer if you
Yes.
prefer. Add some, turn it back on really slowly. So whatever your method is.
Yep. And I don't care how good you are at baking. It's almost impossible not to spill some. Here we are on your counter while you're doing this. Again, just go slow. Be careful, or you'll waste a bunch of ingredients, which would be sad. Just add a little, and then let it blend in.
And the what not to do, which is what you see on all the comedy shows. They just dump all the flour in there and then turn it on, and that's where you get the big flour bomb. So it just makes sense that you would add this slowly.
We have more liquid ingredients that we're going to add to this recipe, so it will start to look a little dry. You're gonna start thinking, oh, I don't know if this is looking like cake batter that I know, but we add some more buttermilk actually next, so that will get it all back to the look of cake batter.
Well, and this recipe is a little different in that you do add all the dry ingredients at one time. Almost all the other cakes I've ever made, you do that alternately. It'll be like a little flour, a little milk, a little flour, a little milk, ending with dry ingredients. But this one in particular, you just go ahead and add all the flour at one time.
We're almost there.
Well, while you're adding flour, I'm going to tell folks a couple of things about this year's fair. It is the Mistletoe Magnolias DSL Fair and Marketplace, Dublin Service League. It is Friday, November the 11th, that's Veterans Day, from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. And on Saturday, November 12th, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The tea room is open for lunch and dinner, where all your fair favorites will be. We'll have the turkey salad, pimento cheese, the
Tomato soup.
all the desserts, of course. This year's featured cake, the Snickerdoodle cake, we'll have plenty of that. You can also order to-go orders on the website. The website is dublinserviceleague.org. We'll have that on the screen throughout this show. You can go onto that website. Just look around at some of the vendors that will be there, some of the items that we have in the tea room, all the things that you'll be able to eat. We'll have vendors that supply toys, clothes, shoes, decor, jewelry, art, gifts, and fine silver. So if you want to start your Christmas shopping, this would be the perfect time to do that.
It's kind of like, I think of it as like a one-stop shop. You can go to one place where you can meet multiple needs for your family or friends or whoever you're buying Christmas gifts for. And it's not just a variety of gifts. A lot of it is local. So you can also be giving back to your community. In the
Most
process.
of it is local.
Yeah.
And they're all small vendors.
Yes.
It's, we're not inviting a big box store. It's all local, small vendors.
Very collective type pieces, individual pieces that you're not going to find on Amazon or wherever else. So I'm going to scrape again, and then we're going to get ready to add the buttermilk. Mom, if you will share how much buttermilk.
All right, let me find the recipe again. I covered it up. We need 1 1/2 cups of buttermilk at room temperature.
And we also, I believe, need to add our vanilla at this point. If you will tell me how much.
1 tablespoon of pure vanilla. And I will tell you, you get what you pay for in vanilla.
Yeah.
If you buy the cheapest vanilla flavoring, number one, it's going to take a little more of it to get that flavor. But if you can purchase vanilla extract, that is a better choice than a flavoring for this particular cake.
I would say for most.
Yeah, for most everything.
Unless it just says vanilla flavoring, I would go with vanilla extract.
And a little goes a long way. So if you spent $8 or $10 for this tiny bottle of flavoring, it's going to last you months, or depending on how much you bake, maybe even a year.
Yeah.
It doesn't go bad. Maybe even gets better with time.
I agree. If you don't mind, go ahead and measure out a tablespoon of that.
And we said tablespoon. Now that is a lot.
It is. A tablespoon of vanilla is just, I think, a part of that Snickerdoodle flavor. The vanilla and the cinnamon in this recipe, woo! And here I am making a mess.
And that's the way that happens. And I think we need to add a little bit of vanilla where we sloshed it out.
I'm sorry, that was.
You don't want
I
to
left
skimp
a little
yourself on
pile
vanilla.
On top there. Yeah.
But you know, this
There we
is
go.
just real baking. This is how it happens at home. This is how it happens here.
And so I'm going to slowly add the buttermilk. Again, just keep it on a low speed. If you want a little bit in the science behind this, buttermilk is a very fatty milk. When you're incorporating fat, think of it like oil and water. It tends to want to separate a little bit, and going slow allows the mixer to incorporate all of the ingredients whole together. If you were to just dump your buttermilk in and then mix for a minute, it will separate in the pan too. It won't keep your cake looking nice and fluffy, and it just won't bake evenly.
Well, and the recipe says 1.5 cups of buttermilk. There are several different types of buttermilk out there. We are choosing the highest fat products.
Yeah, whole fat. You don't want a reduced fat buttermilk. It kind of defeats the purpose.
You can make a cake that way, but there will be a difference in the flavor.
Yeah. I mean, as far as fats and sugar and things like that go,
It's cake.
right, it's a dessert. If you're trying to cut calories, maybe don't eat cake. We are almost there. And after we get this incorporated, we'll be ready to put it in the cake pans.
I will say too, most cake recipes freeze really well, and that's a struggle I hear from a lot of people. They're like, I want to make a cake, but you know, our family is a family of 4 or whatever, or 2, or we don't need the whole cake right away. You can cut it up into quarters and just have some of it if you're not having a party or people over to share it
Or
with.
even slices.
Yeah.
Cut it into like single serve slices. And freeze
Ziploc
it
bag,
that way.
and then
Yeah.
pull out a slice when you want one.
Yes.
There's no real magic. Cake just freezes really well,
It does.
typically.
Personally, I think it even tastes better if it's been refrigerated maybe for a day. Let all of the icing and the cake come together, and the flavors just, to me, they just develop a little more and become more full, rather than baking it and eating it right away.
Right. Agree.
Okay, that is the last of the buttermilk.
And it took you about 2 minutes to add that buttermilk. So try not to have to do this in a hurry, I guess.
Yeah,
Enjoy the process.
And this particular recipe says just mix until combined, which means once your buttermilk, you don't see any liquid floating around in there, you're done. You don't need to just crank that baby up and whip it all up, because then you fill it with air, and that's a whole nother issue. So,
All right. Oh, looks great.
yes. So we are ready.
And a good well-mixed batter will stand on its own. It'll make peaks like that. If it's all runny, you either missed a step or didn't mix something properly. It'll be a nice firm batter.
A thick, yeah. Okay. So let's get our caking pans. Our baking cake pans is what I meant to say.
And some people eyeball this, and that is perfectly fine. I know you. You're a little more particular than that. I'm an eyeball person. She's going to measure.
I'm a little bit just that way. So I have a scale. What I like to do is set my cake pans on the scale. Just because if you want your cake to look even and pretty, measuring them allows you to know that you have exactly the same or close. I don't get it down to the exact number.
And see, I'm like
But,
adding a little more icing here to make it taller there.
it really doesn't matter. It will not make it any more or less delicious if you don't do it this way. So
Whatever meets your need here.
that's right. That's right. So I've made this cake several times, so I already know I can add at least 400 grams before moving on to the next. So we'll just keep swapping them out, getting them full till all the batter's gone.
Well, and that's something to note, I guess, that it's about 400, 400, and 400
Well,
approximately.
it's actually closer to 520. technically.
Okay.
But I just
See, and I don't know because I don't measure.
again, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. This is just meeting some weird particular need that I have to keep them even.
Hey, there is need in this world for detailed people and not so detailed people.
Well, baking is a good one for the people in the details. All right, I'm gonna go on up to. Oh, that's probably a little much. We're about
That's
at
right,
500.
500?
Yeah. And I think that's gonna have us close. Your batter, if you made it 3 different times, you're gonna have 3 different total amounts of batter. It's could be down to the temperature of something or down to the amount of time you mixed something. It's not ever going to make exactly the same amount every time you make it, but it'll be close. All right, and then you'll love this. I just eyeball the last little bit that's in there. I divide it into 3 and just throw it in the pans. So,
All right.
that has us all good. We Actually, I probably need my spatula. We want to make sure the cake fills the pan. So I just do a little rotating here. Just kind of spread it out. Some people tap their cake on the counter, which you can do. That used to be, I think, an
Super
effort.
noisy.
Yeah, an effort to get air bubbles out. But I've researched that a good bit, and I don't know that it makes that big of a difference.
Might depend on the type of cake you're making.
That's probably true. So
I remember my mama taking her pound cake
Yes.
and slamming it down on the counter.
yes, and there are baking things that you do that with, but this one I've made it lots of ways, and so now that the pans are all, I think they're all
Nice and
pretty
full.
even.
Yeah.
They're nice and full. So one of the fun things about Snickerdoodle is it does have lots of cinnamon in it. So now we are going to make the recipe calls it a cinnamon swirl. So we're going to make like a little mixture of cinnamon and butter, and let me see, what else is in it? Brown sugar.
I mean, it ends up kind of being like a filling a little
and
bit.
then we're gonna kind of place it within the batter. I'll show you how you do that before it goes in the oven, and that kind of gives it the Snickerdoodle, flavor and look that you're familiar with already. So we'll just set these to the
We're going to do
side.
that. We're going to go to a break, and while we're getting all those ingredients ready, we'll be back in just a minute.
And now the starting lineup for the #1 realty company in Dublin and Lawrence County, Century 21. Brian Howell, Charlene Lamb, Adam White, David Deves, Jennifer Bradley, Jay Brantley, Jim Jarrett, Ruth Watson, Charlene Brantley, Raina Duberly, Yvonne Robertson, and broker George Durden. Count on the winning team to help you score every time. For more information, log on to c21dublin.com or call us at 478-272-1535. The winning team, Century 21, Durden Carnegie. Midstate Pools and Spas carries an outstanding line of hot tubs. Adding a spa to your deck or patio is a great and affordable way to spice up your backyard area. Hydrotherapeutic reasons or pleasure, we can help you find the right spa that fits your needs. All our spas range from a seating capacity of 2 to upwards of 7 in our signature collection, and there's also different cabinet colors to choose from too, so that you can pick out the right color that best fits your area. There's several different add-ons that can be implemented to make your spa even more enjoyable. That's Midstate Pools and Spas, the ultimate hot tub experience.
Welcome back.
Yes, so now we are ready to make the cinnamon swirl that's going to go into the batter. I've got here a 1/2 cup, I believe, of light brown sugar. We just pre-melted about 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter.
That's a 1/2 stick.
Yes, that we're going to add. And then a 1/3 cup, and the recipe actually says you can use all-purpose flour. Since we used cake flour in the beginning of this recipe, you can also use cake flour, so that's just what we have here. So all these will get combined in here. And Mom, if you will measure a tablespoon of cinnamon.
Again, this is a large measure. A tablespoon is a lot.
But that's what we love about Snickerdoodle.
And a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons, so my tablespoon won't fit in this little thing.
Well, there you go. Improvise.
It goes in
Yep,
there?
it does. You just add it right in while I stir. I like to use a fork for this. And the melted butter really just helps everything mush together. The goal here is mainly just to not have any one ingredient not mixed in. If it's a little clumpy in the end, that's okay, as long as it's not a solid clump of cinnamon or flour.
Basically, it's going to look like the stuff that you put on top of cinnamon toast.
Yeah, kind of like a crumble,
Yeah.
as you said earlier. That's a good way to describe it. So I have tried this a couple ways, and I have found that using your hands is about the only way that really works for this next part. So this is going to get mixed into each of the layers. First, you just start by kind of drizzling it or crumbling it all over the top, and then we'll use a fork and swirl it into the batter. So
we're each going to grab a pan. I guess you divide that into 3 parts.
Actually, I don't.
Okay.
I know. So I'll take, I just grab a little bit with my hand here, and then using my fingers, just sort of break it up like that. And I just do it until it's all gone, and until you kind of have the brown sugar mixture evenly coating each pan, if that makes sense. And this is, I mean, I don't even think you can mess this up. This is not difficult or hard to do. I think the recipe tells you to use a spoon. I did try that, but I just found it to be difficult to try to get. I mean, you really just ended up lumping big pieces of brown sugar in the batter. So I think your fingers allow you to sort of break it up better.
And hers looks different from mine, and that's going to happen.
It does. Actually, we're going to mix all this in a little bit, so it doesn't even matter. The evenness is more about just making sure you get brown sugar within all of the batter. Okay, I think I got it.
Yeah.
And use it all. Just pile it all on top.
All right.
All
Evenly
right, so then,
distributed.
There's, again, I don't know that there's a right way to do this. I have just found this to be the way I do it. You are not trying to sink all of this to the bottom of the batter. You're just trying to incorporate it a little bit so that when the cake bakes, it comes up around it. It's not, you don't want all the cinnamon just sitting on top of your.
Well, and if you leave it in clumps like this, it's going to be kind of like that sad streak. It's going to melt into a clump in your cake.
Well, and I mean, I would say you still have a little bit of clump happening, but that is okay. That is just a yummy little bite when it's all said and done. So you get all these done. Mom, you could probably just use the handle of a
I think you're right.
thing there and do it. And as it bakes, it will sink a little bit more into the batter. I mean, you have butter in this, and the oven is going to kind of melt it more. And it actually makes for very pretty cake layers. Oh, yeah, that looks good.
All right.
Swirly, swirly. Okay, so then these are going to go in the oven.
I can't stop.
So the amount of time that these will go in the oven is, in the recipe it says 23 to 26 minutes. That really just depends on your oven. If you bake, you know if your oven runs a little hot or not. So I recommend just setting a time a safe time, and then checking it. And if you need to add additional minutes, you can do that. I have found about 27 minutes to be appropriate for my oven. So again, just
for
make
those
sure you check.
new bakers out there, I mean, something to invest in would be a cake tester. It's just a skinny little metal pick.
Honestly, a toothpick works.
A toothpick works.
Yeah.
Okay.
After you take it out of the oven, you just test the center of probably all 3 of them. And what you want is for the toothpick or your cake tester to come out with nothing on it. If it comes out with some liquid batter on it, you have not baked it long enough and it needs to go back in the oven for a few more minutes. A little goes a long way with baking. You might think, oh my gosh, this is not done, but it really might only take a couple more minutes for it to be done. So don't overdo it. Don't walk away and forget about
Don't run an errand.
Yeah, just add a couple minutes and check
All
again.
right.
So.
Why don't we put these in the oven?
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Andy Cullins at Cullins Supply. Cullins Supply is proud to be your Bobcat small equipment dealer. When paths need clearing, buildings need raising, loads need moving, acres needs tending, or anything on your to-do list needs getting done, that's where we come in. Bobcat makes the best equipment to complete the toughest jobs imaginable. Come see the full lineup of Bobcat compact equipment at Cullins Supply and Engine Service, located at 910 East Jackson Street in Dublin or 826 South Harris Street in Sandersville.
Hello, I'm Jim Tanner from JT's Farm Market. Come out today and see us for all your meat and produce needs. We got sauces and spices for whatever you're cooking up at JT's. Now at JT's, we got JT's Barbecue Shack. We have pulled pork, ribs, chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs, and all the fixings for all your needs. All the beef that we cooking is locally grown. Come by and see us today at 728 Central Drive, East Dublin, Georgia, or call in orders at 609-9850.
Welcome back, everybody. Our cake is in the oven baking, so we are going to be making the frosting.
Yes. So again, we're starting with room temperature butter, going in the mixer, and we'll beat this really well until it's soft and creamy, and then start to add some other ingredients. This frosting is delicious. I mean, anything with butter and cream cheese, seriously.
And this is 2.5 sticks of butter.
Yes. All right, so that's going in, and we're gonna run the mixer here for a minute and get this nice and soft. Okay, our butter is nice and smooth in there. So what we have here is just an 8-ounce package of cream cheese, but it needs to be cut up into 4 pieces. That just allows the cream cheese to get mixed in a little easier. So we'll add 1 piece at a time, fully mix, then add another piece. And this is also room temperature, like everything.
Which is another reason it's hard to spontaneously bake. Like if you came in and you decided, oh, I think I want to make this Snickerdoodle cake right now. You would have to wait on many of your ingredients to come to room temperature, which would require at least a couple hours lead time.
Probably.
So it's best if you can kind of plan and say, I want to bake tomorrow. Go ahead and read over your recipe, pull out all those things that you will need to take out of the refrigerator either at that point or first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I usually do, like, I wake up, pull the ingredients out, go do school drop off and take care of kids stuff in the morning, and then, you know, later in that morning, closer to lunch, everything's ready to go. Okay, adding another cube here. All right, adding the last block here. And once they've all been added, you want to bump the mixer up for just a minute and get it all really mixed in well. So I'm going to scrape everything down again, just make sure I don't have any stuck clumps of cream cheese or butter.
And just like before, that butter got a little lighter. It's a little more on the whitish side.
Yes. And Mom, why don't you tell them what we've got there?
All right, let me look at the recipe. We have added the cream cheese and the butter. So the next step is 3/4 of a cup of packed light or dark brown sugar. So we've got our brown sugar, and to pack it, The way I usually do it is I just pull it up against the side of my container here, or if you don't have a container that you can do that, you can put it in the mixing and then just like push it down with your hand or something hard. But it does need to be packed. It makes a difference.
And the sugar I like to add with the mixer running, but just on a low speed. And just as before with the batter, we're going to let this mix again and get fluffy. Sugar and butter make fluff. So.
What's it like having a sous chef?
I mean, I could get used to this. Just measure everything for me.
Here you
give
go.
it to me. Almost there. Okay. So we're going to stop the mixer completely and start adding some dry ingredients. So we have pre-measured out some powdered sugar.
5.5 cups.
Yes, which is a lot, but in standard buttercreams, usually it's butter and a lot of powdered sugar. So we are going to add this as well as some cinnamon, Mom, if you would measure that out for me. I believe it's
Tablespoon of cinnamon again, so that's a lot. So I'm going to go with the 3 teaspoons.
And powdered sugar, I swear it has wings. This stuff will just fly out everywhere, even when you're not doing anything. So just be prepared.
So I'm going to put the cinnamon in there with it, or
You will.
later?
Yep, you go ahead and add. And again, she's doing the 3 teaspoons makes 1 tablespoon
Right,
method.
because my tablespoon won't fit in there.
And then we've also got some heavy cream and vanilla and salt that we're gonna add. I'm gonna just do a little slow mix here and try and get some of this powder settled before we add a little more stuff.
So this is a little different than when we were adding flour, which was just like a 1/2 cup at a time. This, it's okay to go ahead and just put it all in there and go slow.
Okay, so now we've got to do a teaspoon of vanilla. We can go ahead and add. Perfect. And a 1/4 cup of the heavy cream.
Okay.
And the heavy cream, think of it as your adjuster. So when you get through making your buttercream, maybe you missed a measurement a little bit, or maybe it's just, you know, sometimes mystery things happen when you're baking. Heavy cream can be your savior in that. If your buttercream ends up being what we call stiff, like it's very difficult to move, you feel like there's no way I'm going to be able to spread this on a cake, just add a little more heavy cream, tablespoon at a time, because you don't want too much. But hey, if you accidentally add too much, you just add a little more powdered sugar and that corrects it. So
But don't go crazy with this process.
but it just allows you to have a little control over the consistency.
And another thing, you did see me when I poured up the heavy whipping cream, I shook the container a little bit. Sometimes the fat solids will separate from the rest of the liquid in here. So if you just pour off the top, you're likely to get clumps of the thicker cream. So you always want to make sure you shake or stir that heavy whipping cream.
And Mom, I don't think we did the salt.
We did not.
We've got a pinch of salt or 1/8 of a teaspoon that we're going to add, because again, we used unsalted butter. It just allows you to control the exact amount of salt that's in your recipe. If you don't have unsalted butter and you want to make this with salted butter, that's fine. It's not the end of the world, but maybe tone down how much salt you're adding to the recipe. All right, I'm going to turn this up for just a minute. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to scrape because there's definitely some ingredients stuck to the side here.
And I'm going to check over the recipe to make sure we added everything. That's always a good practice. And we did. Got everything.
Perfect. And I can smell our cakes in the oven.
And we have just a little more time left.
Okay. That is looking
Icing ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Why don't we take a break and we'll get those cakes out of the oven and get set up to ice this cake for you.
Hi, I'm Tom Domney, Dublin with Nelson Company. We're a full-service wholesaler specializing in plumbing, irrigation, and industrial products. We are committed to building long-term relationships with our customers by earning your business every day. With a staff that collectively offers more than 50 years of expertise, our team knows your industry. We're able to answer your questions and are ready to help you get the parts and equipment you need. At Dublin with Nelson, our goal is long-term success of your business. We achieve that goal with a simple commitment, doing things right, one customer at a time. Our showroom is complete with the latest styles and fixtures. Stop by and see us at 507 Airport Road or give us a call at 478-272-3585. That's Dublin with Nelson.
Welcome, fans. It's time for Friday Night Football. And now, from Farmers State Bank, Ben Knight. Ben Knight, what do you got for us?
Ron, we have a ton of excitement tonight, dedication, and a commitment to excellence. Come be a part of our team at Farmers State Bank and join us on Friday night as we celebrate the Crusaders, the Fighting Irish, the Falcons, and the Raiders. And remember, it's as easy as FSB. Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
Well, welcome back. We have let our cakes come to room temperature. And one thing we wanted to point out, when you take your cakes out of the oven, you want to let them sit in the pans for about 10 minutes. If you try to immediately turn them out of the pan, they'll tear up. They're too moist. They have to kind of congeal a little bit. So give them about 10 minutes, not a long time. If you wait too long, they'll stick. If you don't wait long enough, they'll stick. So really about 10 minutes is perfect. Turn them out onto a cooling rack and then leave them for about an hour at least.
Yeah.
All right, just want to make sure we pointed that out. Next step, ice the cake. And so we're just going to get started with that.
There's on these we didn't show this step, but we have leveled these. You can take just a serrated knife, or I mean even just a sharp knife would work. But if you want nice even layers, shaving off just a little bit of any humps or lumps will allow you to get a really flat, smooth surface. Not a must-have though. I mean, you can definitely ice a cake straight, without trimming it up at all.
All right. And the way I like to ice a cake, for those who've never maybe tried this before, you're going to want one of these long spatulas. And I usually take the icing and kind of smush it a little bit past the cake so that when you put the next layer on and you go to even it up, you'll have some icing that you can work with.
Kind of oozing out of the side there. Yeah.
You don't like my smush word? And just eyeball this, make sure they're lined up on top of each other.
Yeah, you can see all that cinnamon swirl in there. That's perfect. And your kitchen will smell amazing.
It does.
The perfect smell to start your holidays off.
And these are very detailed instructions. For those of you that bake all the time, this is probably way more information than you need, but we're hoping to reach that viewer that has never tried to bake a holiday cake and you want to try this for the first time.
Yes.
Don't be scared.
I mean, it's cake. Regardless of how pretty it looks, or, I mean, as long as you get the ingredients measured right, it's going to be delicious.
And the last layer we're going to flip over so that we get these nice sharp edges on the top edge. I'm going to check and make sure it's lined up and that it's level. Sometimes if your cake's not quite level, you can take a little bit of icing and shove it in there and make it stand up a little taller on one side, and easy to do while you're icing it, but kind of hard to do at the end. I'm going to grab a little more icing to get started with here.
So we've, what the type of icing that she's doing here is what a lot of bakers will know as the crumb coat. So it's going to be a thinner layer of icing than what you would see on like a fully decorated cake. You will see, a little bit of cake showing through. There's two things you can do here. You can either serve it that way. I would say a raw edge look is very in fashion with cakes, and it looks pretty. And if you want to serve it that way, that is perfectly fine.
Especially if you're not a huge lover of lots of icing.
If you don't want a ton of icing on there, it's perfect. But if you plan to decorate it further, it serves a greater purpose. So you get it fully covered in a thinner layer of icing, which you can then refrigerate. Actually, freezer would be the best way. You can throw it in the freezer for about, we'll say 20-ish minutes, and just get it nice and chilled, which will keep crumbs from getting in your icing. That's why it's called the crumb coat. It will kind of solidify and give you a harder surface to work with, and so when you go to do your final coating of icing, it all looks very nice and pretty.
And like she said, the main goal for this layer is to get it even around the sides, seal in all the crumbs, and fill in the grooves between the layers.
Yeah, your cake, if you have, pockets where icing is missing between the layers, your cake can kind of sag, which you don't want. It might look fine now, and then later you'll go to serve it and it'll all be slanted to the side. So filling in, like she said, filling in all the spots with icing is, I think, a key part to keeping it looking like a cake. See, and I think that looks so pretty. That's how I like cakes like that. I think it looks.
I
so
do
good
too,
like
because
that.
I'm not a huge icing fan.
And then perfection is you don't have to have
Right.
it perfect. It kind of works.
A wet paper towel does a good job of cleaning up where you weren't so perfect with your application. I actually dropped a blob on the back side. All right, and this is ready for the refrigerator, don't you think?
Yeah, perfect.
Get rid of that edge right there because I might not want it in the final coat. All right, yep, we're going to take and put this in the refrigerator for how long, did you say?
I think freezer would be best. If you
Okay.
have room in your freezer, about 20 minutes. If you only have room in your fridge, do it a little longer. Yeah, 45 minutes probably.
And then when we come back, we're going to show you what this looks like when you get it all pretty.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and at Dublin Chevy Buick GMC, we care. For each vehicle we sell this month, Dublin Chevrolet will make a donation to breast cancer prevention. And if you'll wear your pink M, we'll double the donation. And this year we'll be making a donation every time you bring your car into our service department. And join our team and go pink this month as we fight breast cancer.
Dublin Chevrolet, we care.
Hi, I'm Brandy, and I would like to invite you to experience our newly renovated mammography suite at the Fairview Park Hospital Breast Center. Our breast center has its own dedicated entrance with a relaxing boutique-like waiting area. You can make your appointment online anytime at fairviewparkhospital.com or by calling 478-274-3919. Most appointments take 30 minutes or less, and we will have your results back to your doctor within 24 hours.
Welcome back, everybody. I've had fun today.
Yes, this has been a lot of fun.
I haven't baked with you side by side in a while, so this was kind of fun for us. I hope you enjoyed it as well. We did just want to give you a couple of details about this year's fair. Again, it's Friday, November the 11th. That's Veterans Day. Yes. These times are a little different than in the past. You know, it has been on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and this year we're doing Friday, Saturday. Yes. So hopefully more people from out of town. You can invite your friends. You can go after work or on a Saturday. So we're trying something new, and we hope it will serve our public better.
Yes.
Friday, November the 11th from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, November 12th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. want to let you know everything you're going to need to know about this year's fair is on the website. So go to dublinserviceleague.org, and that'll take you where you'll have the recipe, you'll have photos, you'll have the times of the fair.
And I was going to say we are actively updating it as we get closer to the fair, so we'll have more and more information as we get closer. Another great resource would be our Facebook page, which is the Dublin Service League Facebook, and again, actively updating that pretty much constantly with vendors that we're having, different desserts that we're featuring, all sorts of fun information that you would be interested to know. Tickets, I don't think we've said, but tickets are $6 if you purchase them ahead of time from a member, which I highly encourage. But then if you don't get an opportunity to do that, they are $7 at the gate.
How can people find a member?
That's a great question. I would say Facebook, again, is a great place for that. Word of mouth is also another good thing. I mean, if you ask someone, odds are they know someone who's in Dublin Service League. But yes, in the website, we will have information there as well about getting tickets. So that should cover the bases. And this is just to show you another finished option. This is the cake that we've got with a second layer of icing and a little decoration. And I mean, this is perfect for family get together, a party.
And y'all, we grabbed a cake plate. We literally went out into the yard and grabbed some foliage off a bush. And then Rachel did plan the cinnamon sticks for the top of this, but super simple decor that anyone can do.
Yep. So we hope you'll try it. It's the Snickerdoodle cake. It is our feature cake, and we hope to see you at the fair.
Wow your family and friends with this at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thanks, y'all.